Christmas Eve, 1885. Austin, Texas, a city gripped by absolute terror. For over a year, someone had been entering homes in the dead of night, not to steal, not to rob, but to kill. 8 women were dead, brutally murdered in their own beds, attacked with axes, dragged outside, and mutilated beyond recognition. The killer left no clues, no witnesses, no pattern anyone could understand. And then, just as suddenly as the murders began, they stopped. The killer was never caught, never identified, never even given a real name, but history would remember him as the Servant Girl Annihilator, America's very first serial killer. 3 years before Jack the Ripper terrorized London, this unknown monster was hunting women in Texas. This is the story of the most terrifying unsolved case in American history. A killer so brutal, so methodical, that even today, 140 years later, we still don't know who he was. December 30th, 1884, the terror began. A black woman named Molly Smith was asleep in her small cabin on the outskirts of Austin. She was a domestic servant working for a white family in the city. Around 11 p.m., someone broke into her cabin. The intruder attacked her with an axe while she slept. He struck her in the head repeatedly. Then he dragged her body outside where he continued the brutal assault. Molly survived the initial attack, but she died from her injuries shortly after. Her boyfriend, Walter Spencer, was found unconscious beside her. He'd been hit in the head with the same axe. He survived, but remembered nothing about the attack. Police assumed it was a personal dispute, a crime of passion. They arrested Spencer, but released him when they couldn't prove anything. Then 3 months later, it happened again. May 6, 1885. Another black servant woman, Eliza Shelley, was attacked in her sleep. Axe to the head, dragged outside, left for dead. She survived. Barely. A week later, Irene Cross wasn't so lucky. Same method, same brutality, dead. Now police realize the horrifying truth. This wasn't personal. This wasn't random violence. Someone was hunting servant women in Austin, systematically, methodically. And he wasn't done. By summer 1885, Austin was in complete panic. The killer struck again in August. 3 more women, all attacked in their beds, all with axes, all dragged outside and mutilated. Mary Ramey, August 30th, survived with critical injuries. Rebecca Ramey, Mary's mother, same night, survived. But then came the worst attack yet. August 30th, 1885, the same night as the Ramey attacks. Gracie Vance, an 11-year-old black girl, was asleep in her family's cabin. The killer entered through a window. He struck her in the head with an axe. Then he dragged her outside where he continued the attack. Gracie's body was found the next morning. She'd been sexually assaulted after death. The city erupted in terror. Families barricaded their doors. Women refused to sleep alone. Men formed armed patrols. The newspapers called him the Midnight Assassin. Police noticed a clear pattern. All victims were women. Most were black domestic servants. All were attacked at night while sleeping. All were hit with axes. All were dragged outside before the fatal assault. But they had no leads, no suspects, no evidence whatsoever. The killer left no fingerprints. No witnesses ever saw him. No one heard him enter or leave. He was like a ghost. December 24th, 1885, Christmas Eve. The killer struck for the final time. And this time, he changed everything. For the first time, he didn't target black servant women. He targeted a wealthy white family. Susan Hancock, age 24, was sleeping in her home with her husband Moses. They were a prominent Austin family, respected, protected. Around midnight, the killer entered their bedroom. He struck Susan in the head with an axe. Then he attacked Moses, who tried to fight back. Moses survived with a fractured skull. The killer dragged Susan outside. He sexually assaulted her. Then he killed her with the axe. 2 hours later, the killer struck again. Eula Phillips, a 17-year-old white girl, was visiting her boyfriend James in his apartment. The killer entered through a window. He attacked both of them with an axe. Eula was dragged outside, sexually assaulted, murdered with the axe. James survived with critical injuries. By Christmas morning, Austin was in absolute chaos. 2 white women dead in one night. The killer had crossed the racial barrier that police thought was his pattern. No one was safe anymore. The governor offered a $300 reward. The mayor formed special patrols. Citizens armed themselves. And then, nothing. The murders stopped. Police investigated hundreds of suspects. They arrested dozens of men, but they could never prove anything. The most popular suspect? A Malaysian cook named Maurice. Morris worked for the Hancock family. He was seen near their home on Christmas Eve. He had scratches on his face. He gave conflicting statements to police, but there was no physical evidence, no witnesses, no confession. Maurice was eventually released. He disappeared from Austin shortly after. Other theories emerged over the years. Some believed it was a white man disguised as black to throw off police. Some thought it was multiple killers working together. Some even suggested it was a woman, since the killer was able to enter homes so quietly. One detective believed the killer was a medical student or doctor because of the precision of the mutilations. Another theory claimed the killer was Jack the Ripper himself, who had fled London and come to Texas. But none of these theories were ever proven. The Austin Police Department investigated the case for years. They interviewed over 400 people. They arrested nearly 50 suspects, but they never caught the servant girl annihilator. The case went cold. The files were eventually lost. By the 1900s, most people had forgotten about Austin's terror. Today, 140 years later, the servant girl annihilator remains one of America's most terrifying unsolved mysteries. He killed at least 8 women. He attacked and injured at least 6 more. He terrorized an entire city for over a year, and then he vanished without a trace. What makes this case even more chilling? The servant girl annihilator was killing in Austin, Texas in 1885. Jack the Ripper didn't begin his murders in London until 1888, 3 years later. That means the servant girl annihilator was America's first documented serial killer. He predated Jack the Ripper. He predated H.H. Holmes. Some historians believe Jack the Ripper may have read about the Austin murders in newspapers and copied the methods. Others believe they were the same person, that the annihilator fled to London and became the Ripper, but we'll never know for sure. The case remains officially unsolved. The Austin Police Department still has it listed as an open case, though no active investigation exists. In 2014, DNA technology advanced enough that researchers hope to reopen the case. But the original evidence was lost decades ago. The servant girl. Annihilator's identity died with him. 8 women murdered, 14 people attacked, an entire city terrorized. And we still don't know his name.